This video is going to be an audible version of the tweet, 23rd of January. This is an audio version. You're going to have to tell your wife, no, you can't eat dinner. You got to watch this video first, then you can eat dinner. Then we can talk D2 Sandbox changing. You want to know the thoughts. You want to know the editor's cut version. You want to know, right, well, what does these numbers mean? How does it actually impact the game? So I'm not going to just read it to you. I'm going to tell you how it is. So I'm not going to read all of it. There's a lot of things that is good in this tweet, like the game to give thing. Support that. It's a good thing. I know that I undervalue a lot of things, but the game to give thing, that whole thing, support it, you should do. But I'm going to mainly focus on this tweet is the Sandbox part of things. I'm not going to read this tweet word for word because it's too long, and I don't want my video to be too long either. Because your wife wants to eat dinner, doesn't she? And you've got to watch this video first, so we can't have it too long. We got to balance it out a little bit. So I'm not going to read through everything. I'm just going to focus on the main things, mainly the Sandbox and the content delivery plan. There's going to be a live stream on the 28th of January at 10 a.m. PT. There you go. There's your time. Right. There's the PvP thing. I'm a PvE main, so I'm skipping that. You can have that. You've had that information. So it's up to you to talk about it or think about it. So the content delivery plans. So this is what they've said about the content for Heresy, how it's going to be structured. Something we wanted to share today is that Heresy will have weekly content and story delivery. We understand your concerns about our return to this approach, but we have learned a lot from the all-in format in Revenant. So in Heresy, we're striking a balance between everything dropping on day one of an act versus meaningful reasons to log in throughout the episode. To that end, we made the vast majority of activities content available on the first day of an act. We've that said, content evolving based on the weekly story. Additionally, each week will feature a seasonal challenge that rewards a new tier of seasonal weapons. Check the live stream next week for the first look at this arsenal, heretical arsenal. We've outstepped into major spoiler territory. We can also tell you that Heresy won't rely on a fixed length for each act like the previous episodes. For example, Act 2 will last 3 weeks instead of the standard 5 or 6. Additionally, all reprised weapons for the episode will be available at launch, with all the second half of the episodic weapons will be available when Act 2 launches. So you'll get all the weapons by Act 2. Our goal is to tell a satisfying and exciting story that both serves as an epilogue the Light and Darkness saga, and that helps pave the way for the things to come. Codename Frontiers launches later this year. June, I think, summer. Okay, here's my thoughts quickly. I'm not worried about Heresy. Heresy's going to cook. You know why? Because whenever the last season is before a major expansion, it always does good. Like Season of the Seraph, for example, with that storyline. I think it was Season of the Seraph, right? So they're going to do well with the story. I can't see them messing this up. If they do mess it up, it will affect sales for Codename Frontiers. Nobody wants to buy the yearly pass for Codename Frontiers, are they? After this year, so they're going to have to prove a lot to us for people to buy and pre-order. Ain't nobody pre-ordering, and I'm not. But before you say, "Oh, pre-order," no, don't pre-order. But they're going to try to get you to pre-order, but they're going to have to prove to us how the new seasonal content will work with Codename Frontiers. They need to cook in Heresy. I'm not worried about it because I know that they will for that. If they don't, I will be flabbergasted if they don't. By the way, having it weekly is going to be better. Say what you want, but Revenant was a worse episode than Echoes. Episode Echoes was better than Revenant because it had crafting in it for the seasonal weapons, and that was a big deal to people. It was a big deal to me as well. I hate Revenant weapons. I hate the way we get them. I hate the tonic system. I hate all of that. And also, you can blow through the story in an hour, and then you don't have anything to do for 4 or 5 weeks. Well, you do have things to do, but nothing story-wise. So it's better on a weekly basis, but they need to go about it. It doesn't really matter. It's how much they give us. If there's not that much to start with, padding it out's difficult. It's difficult to start with. But if there's enough content, then they can do it weekly. I don't mind weekly as long as there's enough of it and it's meaningful. So, in my opinion, it's probably going to be better for player-based numbers, and that does affect my channel as well. So that's what I'm thinking. Anyways, weapon and armor. So I'm not going to read through everything, just the buffs. So first buff, or buffs and nerfs. First is armor, and this is for the hunter. Sealed arm grasps. He's the buff. Reworked with a weapon swap and focus to differentiate it from other hunter reload exotics. Perk description now reads as follows. Powered melee and finisher final blows grant nightmare fuel, increase in handling, airborne effectiveness, while active freshly dawned weapons deal increased damage and grant nightmare fuel on final boss. Gaining nightmare fuel reloads all holstered weapons. Okay, this sounds like a mini Lucky Pants exotic. With Lucky Pants, when you ready your hand cannon, you get a massive damage bonus and whatnot. You're not going to get a massive damage bonus with this. That is my guess. You're going to get a sizable buff to all weapons, so it's going to be like a neutral version of Lucky Pants. That is what this is going to be. If the buff is major, I will be shocked, and I doubt it. Maybe it might be a 10-20% buff, or it might match Surge's, a ×4 Surge. I don't know what it'll be. They haven't said a buff. They haven't said the number, should I say. So we'll have to see how that plays out. G-Wisdom Vest now progresses its super returns on super hits as well as kills before becoming invisible. Improve the maximum possible super energy gains per return while also increasing the amount of progress needed for maximum gains. Now also emits a cloud of weakening smoke when you exit invisibility while nearby an enemy. Works both in neutral and while in super. It's a neutral exotic now. Now you know that I've sold a GM with G-Wisdom Vest on Spectral Blades. And how did it go, people? Remember? What did I say to you all? It wasn't good enough. The star exotic of Spectral Blades isn't good enough. They're buffing it now. Now, is the weakening smoke going to be a 30% debuff or a 15% debuff? Because it's either one of them. Now, I'm guessing it's a 15% debuff, which... It needs to be a 30% debuff for us to equip Spectral Blades and really think serious about it. It needs to be 30%. It won't be though, will it? It won't be. So there is that. So let's move on. By the way, I haven't explained the footage in the background is just me solo DPS and in Vespers host because I'm going to be doing some solo flawless dungeons. The footage is on a loop. There's some strats that I'm testing for solo DPS. I had no footage other than this, so I was like, I'll just use this. Better this than a blank screen. Renewal grasps buff. Double the rate of frost armor gain while in the enhanced Duskveil grenade. That's good. Hey, Renewal Grasps was already good in the game, so now it's only just that much better. So yeah, that's good. Tracer. Increase the bonus weapon damage duration from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. This is also good. 5 seconds is a substantial amount of time when you are playing and DPSing a boss. You can do a lot of damage in 5 seconds. So you've just upped a lot of damage on Tracer builds. That is good. Maybe it should have been 20 seconds though. I think they didn't go high enough with that. So... Now we come to Radiant Dance Machines. Improves airborne effectiveness and hip fire mobility range and accuracy for primary ammo weapons. Multi-kills with primary ammo weapons refund dodge energy. When dodge energy is full, multi-kills grant extra charges. Powerful combatants and guardians count as more than one kill. Okay, the first bullet point was rubbish to me. I don't care as a PvE player about airborne effectiveness. But what I do care about is the primary weapon refunds dodge energy. This will allow you to spam way more dodges than now. There used to be a Radiant Dance Machine build that was meta at one point in the game. If you remember when Apex Predator first came out, with Last Wish, the craftable version I'm on about, there was a little mini build going on with Radiant Dance Machine Hunters where they were dodging with rockets. Rockets became out of the meta, we then went to GLs, therefore Radiant Dance Machines wasn't needed as much. But now, it's not just about DPS anymore, it's about neutral gameplay. Dodging and dodging and dodging. You know, that's good. This is a massive buff to Radiant Dance Machines. Hunters, you might want to consider it. Okay, relativism. The exotic class item cloak for Prismatic. Spirit of Galanor. Reduced the maximum amount of energy refunded for Silk Strike and Golden Gun to 30%, down from 50%. This, Hunters, don't worry about it. That is not that much of a nerf. To be honest with you, because obviously I'm mainly playing solo, that isn't going to affect me that much. I've got a Galanor Spirit. I've showcased it off to you. And it's good. And it will still be good after this nerf. So don't worry about that, honestly. Because of how intellect works in the game, you get intellect from enemies and doing damage, you're still going to get more than enough with your weapons and your extra abilities. You'll be fine. You'll be still having loads of supers. That's good. That's fine. Sorry, it's not good, but it's not bad. They could have went further with that. They could have nerfed it by 40%. They only nerfed it by 20. It's fine. In other words, you can still use Spirit of Galanor builds. There you go. You've heard it here first. Titan Sight and Ramparts. Here's the buff. Removed several downsides applied by Assault Barricade to bring in line with base tower and barricade behaviour. Cumulatively, these changes result in a tower and barricade you can shoot through with no other downsides while Sight Hands is equipped in PvE. See below. Increased barricade health from 400 to 500. No longer increases barricade cooldown. No longer it decreases barricade duration. Further increased damage dealt to Sight Hands barricades by guidance from 125% to 160. This results in near identical effective barricade health in PvP. Okay, Sight and Ramparts. There won't be a build for Sight and Ramparts. There's no point to ever really use Tower and Barricade in PvE at the minute, especially with the Sandbox. And Rally Barricades have got a massive buff with Bulk Charge as well, giving you passive Bulk Charges when you've got a Rally Barricade equipped. There's less chance of you wanting to or need to use Tower and Barricade builds, especially with an exotic that's dedicated to it. It's a waste of an exotic slot, even though they buffed it. Okay, Eternal Warrior. Final Blows. While Fist of Havoc now grants extended super generation. What did I say to everybody? They need to buff Eternal Warrior. A lot of Titan mains said, use Eternal Warrior in the Solo GM. See what it's like. I did. It was terrible. It wasn't good enough because the overshields are not good enough. The times 4 weapon surge isn't even good enough. Who cares about the times 4 weapon surge? I don't care about that much. I want Eternal Warrior to be a good super pick for Fist of Havoc. And it might be now because it's getting Trample back. See, for people that don't know what... Comment down below if you know what Trample is. I'm not going to explain what Trample is. I'm going to see who knows what it is. Trample's coming back. This might be something where you can spam your shoulder charge over and over and over in a super on a Striker Titan. We'll see how it works. There's a Furiosa buff. Block and damage of Unbreakable now returns Great Energy instead of Super Energy. Great Energy is returned at the end of Unbreakable and is scaled based on the amount of damage you blocked with it. This is a massive good change because you don't need more Super Energy. You need more Great Energy to get your Unbreakable back. You want to have the playback loop of spam and Unbreakable. This will allow you to do that. That is something you need to keep your eyes on. Khepri's Horn buff. Now sends out these waves of 3 waves of flame instead of just 1. These waves no longer return towards the barricade. They only travel out once. Tracking on the waves has been enhanced. Combatants damaged by these waves are enveloped in a sunspot. Players are enveloped if they are defeated. Now requires a solar super to be equipped to create the flame waves from the barricade. Here's how they make it good. They need to have the tracking on the flames 15 meter radius. Read it. Listen to it. 15 meters. If they make the radius anything less than 10 meters, Khepri's Horn will still no longer be a use for anything in the game. Khepri's Horn has never been in the meta ever once. Make it in the meta. In order to do that, they need to buff the radius of the flames by at least 15 meters. And yes, I do know my meterage in PvE because I deal with this stuff on a daily basis. I know about my meters on stuff. So yeah, it needs to be 15 meters minimum. That will make this Khepri's Horn build at least somewhat usable in endgame content. Again, the solar flames need to do the damage though, and if they don't, then no one's going to use it. Insurmountable Skullfort buff. Now grants energy to arc melee abilities when hitting targets with any melee attack. Amount granted varies based on the melee used. From most to least energy granted. Powered melees, non-glaive, unpowered melees, while knockout is active, and unpowered melees including glaives. Okay. So, I used Insurmountable Skullfort yet again in another solo GM. Yeah, I do a lot of tests, and it was terrible, because I didn't get my melee back on kill. Insurmountable Skullfort will die on that hill if you cannot get the red bar to be killed with your melee. Now that you get melee energy back with bolt charges and this, there might be an Insurmountable Skullfort build going about. And I want it with Seismic Strike. I don't want it with Thunderclap and Cheeks, and I don't want it with Ballistic Slam. Ballistic Slam will not be your melee choice. It will be either Seismic Strike or Ballistic Slam. Seismic Strike or Thunderclap. But Thunderclap is too slow of a movement in PvE, especially on the high end. You're too stationary for too long. Seismic Strike is hands down the best arc melee option to use right now in the game. And I suspect it probably will be when the arc changes come out. Fight me about it, Ballistic Slam users. The 30% buff's not enough. It's not enough to make it good. I'm sorry. Be traditional and go Seismic Strike. Like me, shoulder charge. Alright. Let's come down to the... So, Stoicism, the exotic class item. Spirit of the Bear. Spirit of the Bear has inherited the changes made to Ursa Furiosa. That's good. Well, we're having a look at some Spirit of the Bear rules. Spirit of the Horn. Same thing. It's inherited the Horn abilities, but it will now emit 4 waves in an X pattern when you use Thruster Dodge. That is interesting. You know, doing a Thruster Dodge and getting that X pattern. As long as the Solar Flames do the damage, then we're looking at something. But they have to do the damage. If they just tickle the enemies, it will be a pass. Warlock. So Titan's now done. We're now on Warlock. Storm Dancer's Brave buff. Double the damage benefit per stack of ascending amplitude up to 20% per stack from 10%. Now also reduces the cost of Ionic Blink during super by 50%. Reduce the maximum amount of energy refunded to 30% down from 50%. Okay, I have used Storm Dancer's Brace. I have done super DPS tests with Storm Dancer's Brace in Shirochi while using the Thrall to then DPS Shirochi. It's a massive amount of damage you can do with Storm Caller on Storm Dancer's Brace. But here's the kicker. Never anywhere in the game is there barely any ads surrounding a boss where it's like, oh, he's a boss. Now you can go and kill your Thrall, then DPS me, sir. There's no bosses telling you to do that. Because look at the Puppet Master that I'm up against right now here. There ain't no minor enemies to go and kill with Storm Dancer's Brace to then do damage to the boss. It's not a practical super. It's not practical to use it in that way is what I'm saying, and I still think Storm Dancer's Brace won't lead to anything because of the arc buffs for Warlock. You ain't going to want to run Stormcaller anyway. And I'm going to read on. Geomag Stabilizers buff, here we go. Added a new perk, sprinting while near max ball charge will top it off like the old days. This is what it used to do, not with the ball charge, but it used to top off when you would run. They nerfed it because of PvP. PvPists, constant. They constantly complain, and then PvP lads. Right, added a new perk. Starts at 6 stacks of ball charge. Re-enabled VFX where boots spark whilst sprinting in max ball charge. That sounds cool. Increased super energy gain from Ionic Trace to 7% from 2%. That's a 5% buff on Ionic Traces, and that is sizable. Why? Because you can spam Ionic Traces. You get super energy when you get Ionic Trace with Geomags. Geomags, I've went over the percentages recently with you I made a video about it. Right, now, Chaos Reach is going to be the absolute meta that you run on an Arc Warlock because Prismatic does not have access to Chaos Reach. So why would you run Stormcaller when you can run a Stormcaller build on Prismatic? So you may as well go all into the Big Daddy Geomag Chaos Reach. The Chaos Reach it's one of the best supers in the game, if not maybe one of the... It's top 5. It's top 5 super in the game. Top 5 super in the game. By the way, I'm just DPS testing on the footage. That's why I'm wiping to see my damage numbers. I was doing some DPS tests. That's just footage in the background. Okay, so you've had that. Now to the next buff. This is rather personal to me, right? Sacred Filaments and Spirit of the Filaments. The build that I've been talking about for fucking 12 years. Now gives class ability energy per kill while Devour is active. Alright, Sacred Filaments, the boots. I'm not interested in that too much. I'm interested in the Spirit of the Filaments. If you don't know, I basically showed everybody an optimized version of the Stasis Turret build where you can run Stasis Turret and Helion because Spirit of Filaments gives you Devour for free. Therefore, you don't need to run Devour as an aspect on Prismatic builds. This is a buff to my build personally, isn't it? The build. If you've been watching me, you know what I'm on about. The build, the Spirit of Starfire and Spirit of Filament build that I've been running is only going to get stronger because you get more class ability energy, which means what? It means more Empowering Rifts and more Devour. My Stasis Turret build is better than 99% of all other Stasis Turret builds because my kit is highly acute by not running Devour as an aspect. Do you understand how that is such a big change to not run Devour? Because then you can run Hellion, and Hellion is OP. So my build has just gotten a buff. There you go, look. Speaker's Sight, it got a nerf. Healing Turret no longer targets allies at full health. Allies need some damage done to their shields to be eligible targets. This is a nerf, and by the way, it's not that good of a change. Well, it is a good change, sorry, it is. But I'm just saying, your turret's gonna have to detect when you're broken, when your health. Not when your shields are broken, but by the time your turret detects that you've taken health, you might die. This could work out really bad. This could be worse than we all think. So keep your eyes on that. I even run Speaker's Sight. In fighting gameplay, with Ember of Benevolence, I do run turret builds. And it is ridiculous how many you get of them as well. Anyways, Verity's Brow and Spirit of Verity. So the two combinations. So the exotic, the full exotic and the spirit. It now uses a meter to track death throws, new durations per tier, times 1 8 seconds, times 2 7 seconds, times 3 6 seconds, times 4 5 seconds, times 5 4 seconds. And when one tier duration elapses, the buff will downgrade to the next lower tier rather than expiring entirely. Bonus grenade recharge per tier, times 1 0.5 second, 0.5% per second, times 2 1.1% per second, times 3 1.5% per second. That's the bonus recharge, by the way. That's per second. Times 4, 2% per second. Times 5, 2.5% per second. Oh, this is a nice change. Because I'll be honest with you, a lot of people say, why don't you use Verity Brow builds? I used to. When it was meta a long, long time ago. When Prophecy days. When Prophecy first came out, I used to use it. That was a long time ago. And it never has been in any meta capacity at all, really, properly. Not in my opinion. Not meta-defining. This is a rework. We'll have to see how Verity's Brow works. We'll have to see if it's worth it. Because there's so much going on in the game right now. It's hard to choose, this over other things. I would certainly run, if I was on an Arc Warlock, I would rather run Crown Tempest over this. I'm just being flat out honest with you right now. I would rather run Getaway Artist, Geomags, so many more exotics than this one. And I still think my playstyle, I don't think suits this. I don't think it suits it. So I'm not I think it's a good change, but I'm not like clambering to get my Verity's Brow build out. Spirit of Verity. Gain bonus grenade recharge rate, but provides 50% of the base Verity's Brow exotic. So the buff and the spirit. Alright, that's exotic done. Aim assistance. Okay, so they must listen to me because I'm the only PvE console player that still plays this damn game, and I'm the only one. And I have mentioned this multiple times about the aim assist problem on console. I'm going insane. I'm Mandela affected. Nobody wants to listen to me about the aim assist issue on PvE. This is one reason why nobody on PC teams for day one raids will accept console players, because this is a hindrance. Aim assist on console when you're trying to DPS a boss or a champ, a damn vandal or damn red bar trash mob runs past your reticle and he drags your reticle to Africa, and you have now just lost 100k DPS. And I'm not joking you, my people. Like, if you try and crit sniping bosses where there's ads knocking about or overloads or whatever, it's a nightmare when it's clustered. And the games are dense now. So let's read what they've done. Destiny's various aim systems are a foundational part of what makes Destiny guns feel like what they do, but they do not come without some edge cases. When using the control input, we've taken a stab at trying to solve an issue where quickly moving target crossing your vision would pull your aim off your previous target by introducing a time-based component. We now weight aim assist against targets you've aimed at for a short time more strongly compared to brand new targets when a new target is introduced by crossing your reticle. We understand that this is potentially wide-reaching change, but have thus far been satisfied with the result in our playtest. Controller players, please let us know if you encounter any issues as a result of this change. Aiming a target for a short time will prevent another target moving very quickly across your reticle from dragging your aim off it. Controller only. I've spoken for years about it, how much of a problem this has been. Honestly, it's been countless years, and only to now are they looking at it. Only to now, that they're looking at it. At least they are. And that sounds like it might fix it, but what I'm now concerned about is if they ruin aim assist on console, because there's some objects on console that did not have aim assist. Moths from Witch Queen did not have aim assist. That made them difficult to shoot on console during Witch Queen. They changed the way we shoot moths on console at some point, making it easier. Do you remember from Beyond Light when you needed to shoot them small robots? They didn't have aim assist. It was a nightmare shooting them. So imagine if they screw aim assist up on console because of this change. I'm just saying, if this change goes bad, they need to sort it out within 1 day. They can't leave it for weeks. I'm saying, if this buff to aim assist doesn't work as it should and aim assist somehow gets turned off, they need to sort it out quickly. Because there's a hell of a lot of players still play on console. Make no mistake. Make no mistake about it. Right, weapon archetypes and subfamilies. PvE damage tuning. Here we go. Scout rifles. How long have I said to buff scouts? Plus 15% versus miners. Plus 30% versus mages. I feel as though, like, this should have been done 5 years ago, man, or even more. Like, is this going to be enough, though? I think just about. So the plus 15 to miners is fine, because red bars can be killed quickly with any weapon, really. The problem is chunk damage against champions and stuff like that. So the plus 30% versus mages, it says, but it doesn't include bosses, so there is that. So we need to see how this is going to be, but any buff at all to scouts is nice. Auto rifles, plus 10% versus miners and mages. That's nice. SMGs, plus 5% versus miners. Additionally, in the last patch, we increased base mag size by 10 to 15 rounds based on the mag stat. That was a nice buff. The 15% mag buff to SMGs. Look at my Callus Minotaur with 47 in the mag. That's just showing you SMGs are very good in the game right now. People have said, oh, SMGs aren't as good as they used to be. Yeah, no, but they're good. I'm happy with them. I think they're decent. And this 5% versus miners, yeah, it's a non-factor, really. Doesn't matter. They're hitting hard enough right now in the game. Right now, SMGs are hitting hard enough in the game. If you don't believe me, go and use one. If I can hit hard enough with a GM in a solo GM, I think you can hit hard enough with one anywhere in the game. Anywhere. Alright, glaives. Here's the buff. Significantly increased aim assist, aim magnetism and damage fall off ranges across the board for all glaives. Improved glaive projectile hit reg. Increased the baseline effects of all stat values for handling speeds, including shield ready speed and draw speed and store speed. Mag size, projectile speed, reload speed. Final hit on the melee combo deals double damage. This hit also inflicts more flinch on PvE combatants. Look, there's probably going to be glaive mods in Heresy. So, there's a bug with glaives if you don't know. If you hold down ADS while you do light swings, it only does 2 light swings. That's more DPS. Well, that's going to change now because you do double damage on the third melee hit. So you want to do the proper melee combo. In other words, spam R1 3 times. That is the success to victory. Let's move on. Aggressive frame fusions. Aggressive frame fusion rifles now fire 3 bursts of 4 pellets in a increasingly wide spread. Increased minimum damage when fully outside of damage fall off range from 45% to 65%. Increased range fall off start by 4 meter relative to normal fusions. Increased range fall off end by 3 meter relative to other fusions. Increased damage versus miners and mages by 15% relative to normal fusions. I'm not bothered about this because there isn't many aggressive frame fusions in the game, to be honest. So I don't have much to say about it, but it seems interesting. Alright, let's move on. Support auto rifles. These are the frames, so no hesitation, for example. Range now increases how far away you can heal another Guardian. Look, on day 1 content, if you're in a fire team, you want one of your fire team members to use no hesitation as a healing auto. And you are the support. Maybe have it on a Warlock that you're playing the support style. It's just a buff to him. How much, I don't know, it doesn't say, but that is a buff. Rocket assistive sidearms. Here we go, people. This is going to be salty. Reduced PvE detonation damage by 45%. Increased PvE impact damage by 100%. Reduced aim assist fall off and maximum distance by 8 meters. Reduced magnetism fall off and maximum distance by 8 meters. Reduced damage by 30% versus bosses, vehicles and mini-boss targets. 30%, man. Buried Bloodline's body shot damage is unaffected. Critical hit damage is buffed by 8%. The range stat was vestigial to the weapon subfamily, so we're removing it. Range Masterworks and Enhanced Intrinsic will be replaced with something more appropriate. There you go, look. So, what I can tell you from that is this. Rocket sidearms, because of the ammo nerf previously, they have felt a little bit lackluster to me compared to what they used to. That's with the ammo nerf from before now. Well, with the damage nerf, you're going to get even less ammo because damage and ammo economy link together. The more damage you have per bullet, the less ammo you spend. So now you're going to have to spend more rocket sidearm ammo, right, to get away with what we used to get away with. In other words, you're going to be not wanting to use rocket sidearms much. You're going to want to use fusions. They're wanting you to use fusions as a special weapon, not so much rocket sidearms. Why? Because we have spammed it since final shape, and they're starting to get sick of us using it. And I can understand it. It's been 7 months now of rocket sidearm spam. It's about time, let's drift the meta a little bit. And I think I agree with this. The only thing I do disagree with is this. Tenacious Mastery only got released recently, and most people haven't even got the god roll for it. And by the time they get the god roll for it, it gets nerfed. They're going to get salty. What they should have done is invented Tenacious Mastery during the final shape, so that we got to play with it then. They took too long to release Tenacious Mastery. By the time they released it, they're nerfing rocket sidearms. And yes, they are going to be less effective. That 30% hit is a hit. It's going to be a hit where to the point where now I might want to start using fusion rifles. That's absolutely something. It's absolutely... I'm on about the special slot here now. But what they've said is Buried Bloodline's going to be the king of rocket sidearms, which is I agree with. That will be the rocket sidearm that you will be the exception that you use. All other sidearms will be okay, but you will run out of ammo with them very quickly, so you're going to have to run some special ammo finisher build or something, which you can totally do that. So, exotic weapons, Lawrence Driver. Picking up a bounty tag now grants 1 ammo to the mag. Triggering Langrarian Sight by picking up a bounty tag adds 6 ammo to the mag the first time you trigger it. Returns to adding more 1 ammo per tag on extensions while the buff remains active. They said that there's going to be a build with this on the Night Stalker, the Prowl aspect on Void Hunter, so look out for Lawrence Driver. I need to see what that's going to be like. Delicate Tomb buff. Increase the chance to make an ionic trace from minor combatants from 4% to 10%. Increase PvE damage bonus on the Tempest Cascade shot from 30 to 100%. Remove the time from Tempest Cascade lasts until fired. Is this going to be usable? Yeah, probably. The 70% buff will tip it over the edge and make it a usable weapon in endgame content. I know because I used it when it was nerfed. So if I think to myself, when I used it, I'm imagining now, what was it like? Yeah, it was under par. I've got that sort of memory. I can remember up to 12 to 18 months ago when I used a weapon, because that's the last time I used it. So if I'm imagining that, with the 70% buff, it's going to be a usable weapon now. The Ionic Trace thing is a non-factor by the looks of it. Although, from 4 to 10%, you're going to get plenty of Ionic Traces anyways. It's the buff that I'm more concerned with. Darcy, this is the buff. Added a new catalyst perk, Network Targeting. And hits with personal assistant active grants you and nearby allies improved overall weapon performance and precision damage with non-exotic sniper rifles. So this is like starting to be a bit like Galley in a sense, Galahorn. Like it's giving you a buff to other snipers. Improved recall, flinch, target acquisition, handling, and precision damage. Stacks up to 5 times. Darcy also gets this buff itself. Darcy user also gets plus 15% damage after granting 5 stacks to teammate. I've already told you that I've done solo GM with Darcy, and it has Jolt built into it. That is good enough. The fact that they're buffing it even further, Darcy is not an off-meta pick. That is you being misinformed. Darcy is a very good weapon in the game right now. You need to look into it. You need to make sure that you got the catalyst for it. You need to look into it and think about it, because it is good. All of that's really good. Okay, this is Exotic Glaives. Edge of Action, Concurrence, Intent. This is Exotic Glaive buff. All class Exotic Glaives. Special shot is no longer tied to glaive energy. Now triggered on 6 weapons hits to allow special reload. Increments of both shots and melee hits. Edge of Concurrence. This is the Hunter one, I think. Effects of Jolt and Feedback. Trait added to the intrinsic perk. Edge of Action. Effects of Disabling Rounds. Trait added to the intrinsic perk. That's the Titan one. Edge of Intent. This is the Warlock one. Effects of incandescent trait added to intrinsic perk. Added Cure Pulse to special shot impact. Healing turret no longer targets allies at full health. Allies need some damage done to their shields to be eligible targets. Those are the buffs. I barely use the exotic glaives. It still doesn't look like they're going to be that important. You're better off running a legendary glaive. There'll be more on that later down the road when I explain it. Not in this video, but later on a different video. Centrifuge buff. Auto rifle exotic. Increase mag size to 45. Centrifuge is not a good weapon. However, with the amplified buffs, it might make it somewhat half decent. I'm still not. There's many better options than Centrifuge. Many better options, but I will check it out. The mag size isn't enough, although there's a 10% buff to auto rifles. Auto rifles are kind of strong anyways in the game. If you use an auto rifle, I know we haven't really been using auto rifles anymore because there's not been auto rifle mods since Echoes. So I'm now guessing, because of all these auto rifle buffs, there will be Overload Auto next season. It'll either be Overload Auto or Barrier Auto Rifle. Count on it, that is my prediction. You know why? Because they're buffing loads of auto rifles. There's more to come. So read between the lines. Whenever they buff one archetype of a weapon, why are they doing that? Oh, it's the artifact mods. Yep, that's how we look. That's how you read between the lines on the TWABs. This is how you do it. Dead Messenger, Hardlight, and Borealis. These are the buffs. The fundamentals. New effect grants a 30% damage buff to this weapon for 10 seconds when you apply or receive an elemental keyword that matches the currently selected damage type of this weapon. Removed effect. No longer grants different stats based on the current element. So that applies to Dead Messenger and Hardlight. Borealis only. Increased stability by 20 and aim assist by 10 to permanently grant it the void element bonus that it will no longer have access to since Borealis is a sleeper pick in PvP. This bonus was selected over Arc since there are more ways to get Haaland. Look, another auto rifle buff. Hardlight is an auto rifle. They want you to use auto rifles. Are you seeing it? Let's move on. Telesto. Telesto buff. Harbinger's Pulse now only refills Telesto's ammo from reserves instead of Telesto and your kinetic slot weapon. Now triggers with any void final blow. Final blow requirement increased from 2 to 3. However, Telesto final blows count double. In other words, will trigger from 2 Telesto final blows, 1 Telesto final blow, plus 1 other void final blow, or 3 other final blows. My God, what, too much info there. Multi-kill timer increased from 2 to 4.5 seconds. This is the important part. Catalyst. New perk Harbinger's Sieve. After 3 activations of Harbinger's Pulse, special reload the weapon to cause a rain of Telesto projectiles on your next direct hit. This will be like All God's Right. This will be like the artifact perk All God's Right. This is going to be good. Rain of Telestos. Telesto is going to be a weapon that you would rather use than a rocket sidearm. I would rather use Telesto than a rocket sidearm for Heresy. Because the rocket sidearm is going to be too much of a nerf at the special slot. So then we're going to be leaning towards more exotic special weapons. Right, what else is there? Telesto is one. Telesto is always good. It will be better than a legendary rocket sidearm. Sorry to tell people that, but it will be. Just because of what they're doing, all the buffs. Trigger and Perpetual, here we go. So Vex Caliber buff. It's an exotic glaive. Trigger and Perpetual Loophole by scoring a melee's kill while your overshield is active. Now also fills your glaive energy to full. Slightly increased void overshield trickle on rate to nearby allies and yourself while guarding. Increased potency of Vex Caliber's secret innate advantages against the Vex. Vex Caliber's secret damage bonus when striking with its projectile against a certain enemy faction has been increased from 10 to 25% to match Wish Ender and Malfeasance. Vex Caliber now briefly disorients non-boss Vex with its melee attack. Look, glaives are going to be good next season. This glaive, Vex Caliber, will be better than all the exotic class item glaives. That is my prediction. Let's move on. Warcliffe Coil getting a buff. New intrinsic effect grants 1 stack of bolt charge to nearby allies for every 2 rockets. Fired. 4 stacks per trigger pull. There's some bolt charge going on with Warcliffe Coil. Grand Overtures is better than it though. I'll just say that outright. Grand Overture is always better than Warcliffe Coil, unless Warcliffe Coil is doing bug damage to a boss. The Queen Breaker. These are the buffs. Players can special reload at any time to swap between scopes. Marksman's Sight retains the previous behaviour of firing a single shot that chains to nearby targets and blinds them. The range of the chain has increased from 8 metres to 10 metres to make chaining easier. Combine Sights now alters the weapon to fire a 3-round burst at a charge time of 533. Sustained damage on a target decreases the charge time of the weapon down to 300 charge time with no loss of damage. Oh, that's good. Useful for quickly dealing damage to bosses or other high health targets. The scope that you select in the inspection screen will determine which scope is active by default when spawning new activity. Look, Queenbreaker Bow's very good in the game now. I've already proved that to you. It's good now, so it'll only be better. Now that you can swap a scope, get a faster charge time, and still do the same damage is very good. We'll have to... Here we go. Colony buff. What did I tell you? I predicted, as I said, Colony will get a buff. And it did get a buff. Here we go. Increased detonation damage by 40%. This puts its damage per shot a little above Legendary Drum GLs. It's above Legendary Drum GLs. I done a solo GM with Colony before Christmas, remember? I did say in that video, they will buff Colony. Listen to people. Will you start to listen to my predictions? Please, people. I've been here too long. I've seen too much. I've got that much information in my brain. Sometimes I have to, knock it off, and it's hard to switch off for me because I know what they're going to do before they do it because it's written in the stars. It's about time they were to buff it, and then they did. Then, well, they will. So, increased number of bots spawned by 1 for all enemy tiers except players. So that means PvP. Player 1, minor 1 to 2, elite major 2 to 3, champion mini boss 5 to 6. Hey, I will be doing a solo GM with the Colony when that gets updated. You know it. Quicksilver Storm buff. Reduce shots required to trigger a rocket by 17%. Look, they're buffing autos again. There will be auto rifle overload next season. Legend of Acreus buff. Reduce spread angle by 33%, increase maximum projectile range from 12 to 18 meters. This will make Legend of Acreus more consistent and more like a slug shotgun in terms of range. This will be very good. Legend of Acreus is the second best monument exotic that you should pick. Anarchy being number 1 for new lights, number 2, Legend of Acreus. 4th Horseman buff. How much more of this freaking twin is there? Reduce the rate of the fire to give more control over wasting shots. Loads ammo from reserves to the magazine per kill. 4th Horseman's fantastic in PvE, just getting a buff. Lord of Wolves. Increased range, reduced base damage. Removed accuracy penalties from standard fire mode. Releases the wolves, now triggers on hip fire instead of special reload. Fires full auto. Greatly increased damage and rate of fire. Reduced accuracy and range. Catalyst. Reload speed and stability boosts are now built in when released. The wolves is active, dealing damage to targets. Scorches them. It now scorches targets. When ADS defeating targets spread scorch to nearby combatants. Lord of Wolves needs a damage buff to back that up though, because I tried Lord of Wolves yet again in another solo GM and it wasn't good enough. So we'll have to see how that is. Cloud Strike. Added behavior to Stormbringer perk. Rapid precision hits create a lightning storm at the point of impact and grants a stack of bolt charge. Added behavior to the mortal polarity perk. Precision final blows generate a lightning bolt at the target's location and grants a moderate amount of bolt charge. This will be good with a bolt charge build. Cloud Strike's a very good weapon. You can actually pick it up now for Bendo tokens, can't you? So if you haven't got it, you can. Remember, you can get it from Empire Hunts. Don't be a bit of a baby. Go and farm it in Empire Hunts. It doesn't take that long. Come on. You can whip out 20 Empire Hunts in 5 minutes. You can do that. So yeah, Cloud Strike's going to be good. It is good now. Thunderlord buff. Thunderlord Power Rangers, stand up. Added behavior to Rain Havoc perk. Final blows with this weapon generate lightning strikes from above. Lightning strikes grant a stack of bolt charge, strong against Overlord champions. Look, Thunderlord is a strong weapon in the game. It doesn't matter what anyone says right now to me here and now. I know Thunderlord's strong, and it'll only be stronger with arc belts. Weapon perks, destabilizing rounds. Now grants volatile rounds for 2 seconds if any targets are hit by the volatile burst from the initial final blow. Reduced internal cooldown from 4 seconds to 1.5. There might be a volatile round. There might be a destabilizing rounds thing going on there. Full Court now scales the detonation and burn damage of original GLs. Now scales so you can run Full Court on original GLs. I haven't ran a Full Court one. With the release and popularity of original GLs, we've gone back and added support for them on this perk. So you can get Full Court on original GLs. I haven't even got one with that. Oh, well, there you go. You've got you got Full Court that works with it. Ambitious Assassin removed both multi-kill and reload timers. Ambitious Assassin is a fantastic perk. Flash Counter. I kept a Flash Counter sword and deleted it. Why did I delete the Flash Counter sword? What have they done? Rework to read. Taking damage after garden emits a disorienting blast. No longer requires a timed input or melee to trigger. Deals moderate damage in a large cone in front of you, disorienting combatants. I need to craft a sword now with flash counter. I've kept a flash counter sword in my vault for 4 or 5 years, and they never buffed it, and it was awkward to use over and over and over. And I finally deleted, and then they buff it. This is what annoys me, it does. But there'll be a craftable sword with flash counter, I'm sure. Okay, so this is Nightfall stuff. Lotus Eater, new weapon. Void Rocket Sidearm. Well, they're nerfing sidearms. Third column, Strategies, Feed and Frenzy, Well-Rounded Shooter Loop, Beacon Rounds, Reconstruction. Fourth column, One for All, Redacted, High Ground, Reverberation, Frenzy, Adrenaline Junkie. Alright, that's a Lotus Eater sidearm. Palindrome, Arc Adaptive Hand Cannon, third column, Closing Time Elemental Capacity, Explosive Payload, Redacted, Outlaw to the Pain. Gets Explosive Payload in the third column, in the first column, that's good. In the third. Let's see what it says in the fourth. Magnificent Howl, Snapshots, Sights, Master of Arms, Open Shot. Run a Master of Arms with Explosive Payload on Palindrome for PvE? Hey, that sounds amazing. I want to use Palindrome in PvE. Okay, Vanguard Ops, a new strand aggressive rocket launcher. I can't pronounce the name. Third column, Reconstruction Ambitious Arsenal, Slice, Demolition, Field Prep, Tracker Module, Sympathetic Arsenal, Impulse, Amplifier, Ambitious Assassin, Clown Cartridge, Danger Zone Overflow. Fourth column, Chain Reaction, Explosive Light, Redacted, Bipod, Cluster Bipod, Quick Draw, Last Impression, Adrenaline, Junkie, Reverberation, Desperate Measures, High Ground, Hatchling. That's the rockets aren't very good right now though. So there's a new Gambit weapon called Backfang. It's an arc rapid fire glaive. I'm not going through all the perks because this video is too long. Crucible. There's a new Void heavy burst pulse rifle called Jox's Longsword. Not reading through the perks. You can read through that yourself. More weapons leaving soon. We've got Undercurrent leaving. Good. It's not even that good of a weapon. Trials of Osiris the Prophet last week. He's leaving. The Wristwalker is leaving us, and Lethal Abundance is leaving as well. Then you've got Game to Give stuff, support your stuff. That's the Sandbox. That was a very difficult video for me to commentate on. Yeah, remember, the footage in the background was just for footage whilst I give you this. Now you can go and eat dinner, can't you? You can tell you why you can go and eat dinner. That's it. You've listened to it. So, yeah. You can see there's a lot of auto rifle buffs going on. Rocket sidearms aren't going to be too good, although they still will be usable, but you're going to have to rely on special finisher builds, in my opinion, going forward. Buried Bloodline's going to be the start of rocket sidearms. You're going to want to run Telesto. You're going to want to run Delicate Tomb with bolt charge builds. What else was there? There was the Cloud Strike buff. There's a lot of buffs in there, right? I've covered it all to the best of my ability. Like, this is obviously like overwhelming information. Not only that, last week we had the bolt charge arc aspect thing going on with all the new aspects. So you've had that one, and then you've had this one. They're trying to make Destiny 2 competitive in 2025 because there's going to be a lot of good games coming out in 2025. They need to make this game competitive, and they're doing that through Sandbox because the Sandbox team doesn't sleep that much. The Sandbox team does a lot of work, and they carry the game. Essentially, the Sandbox team have been carrying the game between content droughts, and that's who wins. The Sandbox team always do a better job than maybe some of the other teams at Bungie. I don't know. You know, sound, music, that's good, but the Sandbox team in particular, I think, is probably the best team working on Destiny 2 in that studio because they just do too much. Look at all this they're doing for the game. Look at all those changes. So that was the information on this. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.